What just happened behind closed doors could change the way you see your pension forever. Have you ever wondered what kind of policy could appear overnight, without warning, and promise £2,300 more to pensioners? What if I told you a single move, made quietly while most of the country was asleep, might bring some long overdue financial relief, but only for certain people? Why wasn't this breaking news blasted across every major channel this morning? Why is it that some are already celebrating, while others haven't even heard a whisper of it yet? And here's the real kicker: what role did Keir Starmer actually play in all of this? Was this a carefully calculated plan, or a surprise even to his own party? My name is David, and in today's video, we're uncovering something that could genuinely impact the financial future of millions of pensioners in the UK. But there's more to this than just numbers. There's timing, eligibility, and some silent conditions that might not be as straightforward as they sound. Who qualifies for this extra £2,300? Why now? And what does this mean for those already struggling with rising costs, frozen benefits, or years of feeling left behind? More importantly, is this just the beginning of a bigger pension shake-up? There's a reason why the news broke without a bang. Some are calling it a strategic move. Others say it's the most unexpected boost to pensions we've seen in years. But one thing's for sure, you need to know if you're included or excluded. I'll be walking you through what's really going on, but you've got to stay tuned, because the devil, as always, is in the details. And believe me, some of these details will leave you speechless. So don't click away. Don't miss a second. And if you've been waiting for real change, this might just be the moment. Tap that like button, make sure you're subscribed, and let's dive into what just happened overnight that could put £2,300 right where it belongs, in your hands. What happened overnight wasn't just another policy tweak. It was a bold move that, for many, felt like a long overdue correction to years of being overlooked. Keir Starmer's sudden implementation of what's now being referred to as the £2,300 state pension plan has left people wondering, is this finally the shift pensioners have been waiting for? But here's where it gets even more intriguing. This plan didn't just quietly appear, it came into effect with very little public discussion beforehand. Almost as if it were designed to catch even the experts by surprise. And now, many are scrambling to understand what it means, who it includes, and why it happened now of all times. One thing's for sure, it wasn't random. Over the years, pensioners across the UK have dealt with rising inflation, the aftershocks of global economic instability, and a cost of living crisis that's been especially harsh on those living on fixed incomes. Every winter seemed to bite harder, every utility bill felt heavier. And while promises have often been made during election seasons, the reality for many pensioners has remained painfully unchanged, until now. Because suddenly, a figure is being tossed around that no one was expecting to hear. £2,300. Not in some long-term forecast, not in theoretical white papers, but in an actual implemented policy with immediate effects. But what is it exactly? Well, the amount itself, £2,300, isn't just being handed out in a single cheque. That's where people can get confused. What we're looking at is a cumulative annual increase through the state pension mechanism. And this increase has come from several compounding factors that have merged all at once. It's not just a top-up or a bonus. It's the result of policy decisions tied to the triple lock, changes in earnings data, inflation adjustments, and an economic recalibration that could affect pensioners for years to come. But this also means not everyone will see the same impact, and that's where things get interesting. Now, let's break down what really led to this. One of the most powerful driving forces behind this pension rise was wage growth. Over the past year, average earnings in the UK rose more than anticipated. The triple lock mechanism, which promises that pensions will rise each year by the highest of three factors, average earnings growth, inflation, or 2.5%, kicked in, and this time, it was wage growth that triggered the calculation. Official reports indicated an 8.5% rise in average earnings, including bonuses, which meant the state pension had to rise by the same percentage. For pensioners receiving the full new state pension, which previously sat at around £10,600 per year, that 8.5% rise translated into an increase of more than £900 annually. But that's only part of the story. When you start layering this with additional support programs, revised thresholds for pension credits, fuel support, and cost of living assistance, that number begins climbing toward the now widely discussed £2,300. And while not every pensioner will qualify for all these elements, a significant number could. This is not simply a flat-rate upgrade, it's a mosaic of benefits that together make up a potentially life-changing improvement. So why did this happen now? That's one of the most pressing questions. Keir Starmer's leadership has come under pressure from multiple sides, not just the opposition but from within his own party. There's been a growing sense that the elderly vote, which historically leaned conservative, could be swayed if meaningful change was demonstrated. By acting decisively, and without extended public consultation, Starmer not only positioned himself as a reformer, but also as someone who can act swiftly when needed. Whether this move was politically calculated or sincerely focused on pension justice is still being debated. But from a policy standpoint, it has shaken up the landscape. And yet, many people remain unaware. That's part of the mystery. How could such a large change be rolled out so quietly? Why wasn't this front-page news? The answer might lie in the strategic nature of the rollout. By not announcing it with fanfare, the government may have hoped to control the narrative and avoid immediate backlash or logistical overload. Because let's face it, whenever money enters the picture, especially on this scale, questions start flying. People want to know if they qualify, how they can apply, and what it means for their current benefits. And if that rollout isn't handled perfectly, it can lead to chaos. That's why I'm here to help walk you through it. If you're a pensioner, or know someone who is, this could be one of the most important updates you've ever heard. But here's the kicker, this new pension increase might not automatically appear for everyone. While some elements of the policy are universal, others are dependent on income, savings thresholds, and whether you're currently receiving additional support like pension credit. This means if you don't act or check your eligibility, you could be leaving money on the table. We've seen this happen before. New policies get introduced, but because the communication isn't clear or people don't fully understand the process, benefits go unclaimed. And that's something we can't let happen here. It's too important. This isn't just about extra money, it's about restoring dignity to retirement. It's about making sure that after decades of work and contributions to the system, our seniors get what they deserve. And here's where things start to get even more layered. Many pensioners might be assuming that their payments will automatically adjust and that there's nothing more to be done. But in reality, this new increase isn't just tied to the basic state pension, it interacts with a range of other entitlements. For instance, if you currently receive pension credit, this extra boost could alter your total income, which then might affect how much support you qualify for in other areas. So while it's excellent news on the surface, it also requires careful attention to detail. It's not simply a matter of receiving more, it's about making sure one increase doesn't accidentally reduce something else. Now let's take a closer look at the ripple effects. The cost of living crisis has not spared anyone, but it's particularly harsh on those living alone or relying entirely on fixed pensions. A slight rise in utility prices, a new council tax bill, or even prescription charges can feel enormous. This £2,300 uplift, when properly applied across the year, could be the cushion that protects pensioners from having to choose between heating and eating. And more than that, it's the kind of change that restores a sense of control. Being able to go to the grocery store and not worry if you have to skip a meal to stretch your budget, that's not a luxury, that's dignity. But let's not forget, not every pensioner receives the full new state pension. Some people, especially those who retired before April 2016, are still on the old state pension system. And for them, the increase might look different, it may be smaller, it may be structured differently, or it may come with additional complications if they have overlapping benefits. That's why understanding which category you fall into is crucial.